The funny thing about injustice is that it never announces itself like a movie scene. It doesn't come with dramatic music or a warning sign. It usually slips into your day wearing something ordinary, something harmless, like a grocery run you didn't even want to do in the first place. 3 sentences, that's all it took to flip my life sideways. A police car pulled in too close. A voice asked a question that wasn't really a question. And I realized standing there with a box of groceries in my hands that this wasn't about the law at all, it was about who they thought I was. I still remember the heat of that afternoon like it's stuck in my bones. North Carolina summers don't play around the kind of heat that makes the air feel thick like you're breathing through a wet towel. I'd left work early, nothing dramatic, just one of those days where you feel worn down and you tell yourself tonight, I'm gonna do something normal, something quiet. My mom's birthday was coming up. She'd hinted about that same little cake she always liked, the vanilla one with too much frosting, and I figured I'd grab groceries, head home, maybe feel like a decent son for once. You know what I mean? Just trying to live your life without making waves. I parked near the front of the store because my knees were killing me. Shut the door, stretched my back, and for a split second, everything felt okay. And then I heard it, the engine. Low, aggressive, too close. I turned just as a patrol car slid in at an angle, blocking my bumper like it owned the space. No sirens, no lights, just that slow, deliberate stop that tells you someone wants you to notice them. 2 officers stepped out, taking their time boots heavy on the pavement, eyes already locked on me like they'd found something interesting. The taller one tapped my hood with his knuckles and said, "This your car?" Not hello. Not how's your day, just that. I nodded. Kept my voice calm. Said, "Yeah, everything okay." The shorter one laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because laughing makes some people feel bigger. Mind telling us how you paid for it? He asked. That's when it hit me, that little shift in the air. I answered anyway, said I worked for it like a normal human being would. His smile faded like I'd ruined the game. Step out of the vehicle. Now look, I've been around long enough to know when a situation is heading somewhere bad. I did what I was told. Hands visible, slow movements, all the things you learn early if you grow up looking like me. As I stepped out, one of them nudged the grocery box with his boot. Apples rolled across the ground, bouncing off oil stains and broken glass, and the cake slid out the container, cracking as it hit the pavement. White frosting smeared across the asphalt. I said without thinking, "Careful, that's for my mom." That's when the tall one leaned in close. Too close, breath heavy with coffee and something sour, and said, "You should be careful with your mouth." And there it was. That quiet click in your chest when you realize this isn't about a car or groceries or procedure. This is about power, and they think they have all of it. They started searching my car without asking, popping the trunk, tossing bags like they were trash. One of them picked up the cake, looked at it, then flipped it upside down and dropped it. Frosting splattered everywhere. "Looks like you got money for cake," he said. "Maybe you got money for other things, too." I could feel my hands shaking. Not fear, not really, but that tight, burning anger you learn to swallow because you've been taught that showing it just makes things worse. I told them I hadn't done anything wrong, asked for badge numbers, kept my voice low. The tall one shoved me back hard, my shoulders slamming into the car, metal biting into bone. Everything went quiet in my head, like the world pulled away and left just the 3 of us standing there. And then, yeah, this is the part people always ask about, I laughed. Just a short breath, disbelief more than humor. I said, "You have no idea who you're talking to." I shouldn't have said it. I know that now, but sometimes the weight of it all just slips out. The shorter officer reached for his baton, eyes bright with the idea of using it. "Oh yeah," he said. "You gonna tell us you're someone important now?" I looked down at the mess on the ground, the ruined groceries, that stupid cake, and something in me settled. I reached into my jacket slowly, carefully. "Show ID," the tall one snapped, hand hovering near his gun. I pulled out my wallet, flipped it open, and beneath an old photo of my parents was the badge I didn't like to show unless I had to. Plain worn gold. "My name is Marcus Hill," I said. "I'm a federal agent with internal investigations." The silence after that was unreal. You could hear traffic in the distance, someone's cart rattling near the store entrance. Their faces drained confidence, collapsing into confusion, then fear. "You're lying," the shorter one said, but his voice didn't believe it. I told them to call it in. They did. The dispatcher went quiet, then formal, then careful, in a way that told everyone listening that something had just changed. Backup arrived fast. Black SUVs, agents who moved without swagger, just purpose. Questions were asked, statements taken, and suddenly the story wasn't going the way those officers thought it would. When they searched the patrol car, they found more than attitude problems. Cash tucked into envelopes, a burner phone, a small ledger hidden behind a loose panel, names, numbers, patterns, the kind of details that don't belong to a routine stop. I went home that night with bruises on my arm and frosting still on my shoes. My mom cried when I told her what happened, not because she was shocked, but because she wasn't. The investigation that followed cracked things open wider than anyone expected. Officers resigned, others were arrested. The police chief called it a misunderstanding, tried to keep it quiet, but someone leaked the body cam footage and suddenly the whole country had an opinion. Some folks said I provoked it, said I should have complied better. Others said it was about time someone stood up. A lot of people said nothing at all. Then came the threats. Anonymous calls in the middle of the night, a brick through my window, a picture of my house taped to my door. They thought fear would make me disappear, that I'd take a deal and let things go back to the way they were. Yeah, that happened. And yeah, they were wrong. I testified. Calmly. I didn't yell, didn't insult anyone. I just told the truth and let it sit there heavy and undeniable. The trial dragged on, months of waiting, reliving it all over again until finally the verdict came down. Guilty, conspiracy, abuse of power, federal sentences handed out in quiet courtrooms where the sound of a gavel felt louder than any siren. When it was over, I went back to that same grocery store, same parking lot. The oil stains were painted over. The lights were brighter. A young officer nodded at me as I walked past. No suspicion, no smirk, just acknowledgement. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. If I hadn't had that badge, would anyone care? Would this story feel like justice or just another name lost in a headline? For every story like mine, there are dozens that end differently, where there's no reveal, no backup, no one listening. So I want to know what you think. Was this justice or was it just luck? Have you ever seen something like this and wished you'd said something? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue if you need to tell your own story, because silence is exactly what lets this keep happening. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories that don't look away when things get uncomfortable, you know what to do. Subscribe, and let's keep talking.